So much has changed in terms of America's social realities. The pandemic has bared nagging social fault lines, we know that, and frankly, institutional rot. Positions have hardened on the basis of emotions, not actual thinking, that's for sure. Key once unassailable principles, things like freedom of speech, freedom of thought, they seem unmoored. And frankly, where they go is up for some conversation. That is one of the absolutely critical themes that our speaker tonight, Bari Weiss, will be speaking to, and your voice is more important than you know.
Free societies need constant attention and renewal. They require freedom of thought and speech. They require that we constantly engage in a great conversation within and about what is a free society. Lately, bullies have arisen on both ends of the political spectrum and across our great institutions, who, armed with social media and tactics that often imply or exercise outright violence, attempt to shout down, humiliate, and marginalize criticism and dissent. We must celebrate those that challenge the bullies, not with shouts or violent language and the tactics of silencing and erasing debate. To that end, we are here tonight to honor Bari Weiss for her courage and her voice.
Most of our so-called thought leaders and public intellectuals go to every length to pretend and lie to you and say that it isn't happening. But it is happening. And perhaps the most uncomfortable feature to confront is that it's happening here, in the freest society in the history of the world. It turns out that a soft version of totalitarianism can become endemic in a free society if the individuals and the institutions that we are entrusting to uphold the liberal order just abandon their mission. If they allow themselves, out of a combination of cowardice and cravenness, to be taken hostage by forces and by movements and by people that are deeply illiberal. This entire phenomenon, it's taken place against the backdrop of seismic changes in American life. The tearing apart of our social fabric, the loss of religion, the decline of civic organizations, the rise of big tech, the loss of faith in our meritocracy, successive financial crisis, a toxic public discourse, crushing student debt, an epidemic of loneliness, a crisis of meaning. It's taken place in a world in which sometimes the American dream has felt like a punchline. If the individuals charged with upholding the mission of a university, let's say, if they cave to the demand of illiberals, well then, it's simple. That institution will cease to be liberal. As the writer Douglas Murray has put it, the problem is not, in these cases, that the sacrificial victim is selected. The problem is that the people who destroy his reputation are permitted to do so by the complicity, by the silence, and by the slinking away of everybody else. If cowardice is the thing that has allowed for all of this, then the force that stops this cultural revolution can also be summed up by a single word. And that word is courage.